I just found myself saying you need a backup plan. And I thought I haven't done a video about backup plans. So if you're struggling to speak up in class and struggling to participate in those kind of situations, why do you need a backup plan? What is it and how does it work and different things like that? What I have found from my personal experience, separate to teaching, my personal experience, is that sometimes my first reaction is not always something that I'm proud of. So that first reaction, if I click into that fight, flight, freeze, whatever type of thing, if there's a problem and I'm triggered into that fear response, my first reaction is not necessarily good. And what I realized was that I need to decide in advance how I'm going to respond in certain situations. Now, you can't anticipate all situations, but one of the things that was commonly coming up for me was simple situations that, for example, I misspoke or I used a word incorrectly, or maybe I didn't know a word that somebody else had used and I was getting very embarrassed about. I can't admit that I don't know that, or I just, as I say, just the level of embarrassment was so great that it kicked me into these other things. And one of the times that this really struck me was I was living in Madrid. I was meeting with friends, not friends I knew particularly well, and my Spanish wasn't very good. And I said the wrong phrase. And the person who I think of as a friend, but I don't know that well, corrected me and said, "Oh, it means this." And the problem was in that moment is that I did know what the correct answer was and I had simply misspoken. So what happened was, instead of just smiling and go, "Yeah, thank you," I reacted as in, "Yes, I know what it is." You know, that, and I suppose what that was leaning towards that fight side of fight or flight. Now, typically, I'm not into that being more aggressive in a response. It's not a characteristic that I really want to have. And I thought, I do not want to be that person. All she did was correct me in a genuine, supportive way, but I felt so sensitive because I did know what the correct phrase was. I did know what I was supposed to be doing, and I felt I'd shown myself up. I don't know whether any of these things make any sense. And I thought, after that, I went home and I said, is that the person that I want to be? Now, typically, we think of these things as, I don't know, something that happens in the moment, an emotional response, as in, that is who I am. I respond like that. But at that point, I was thinking, no, I think there's something more to this. I think there's something that I can grow into, in that I don't want to be that person, not in those simple mistakes where there's a kind of a friend there. What I want to be able to do in those really simple types of situations is just smile and laugh it off. And I knew that in the moment, with that rush of all those different feelings, and I wasn't sure that I could control the feeling side of things, I knew that I needed to have decided beforehand. And that's what I'm talking about in terms of having a backup plan. I'm specifically talking about, you decide in advance, if this kind of situation happens that's small, that's embarrassing, but it's a rush of feelings, I'm going to just smile and laugh it off. And yeah, maybe later I'm going to feel uncomfortable and think, why did I do that? But the person that I want to be and the person that I want to show up as is kind of relaxed about the small stuff. And, you know, if there's a word that somebody says that I don't know what it means, I'm going to ask them. I'm going to ask them what it means, because I've been found out too many times when I've tried to, I don't know, pretend my way through it. It's like, I'm going to ask. And what I found from asking people is they can't always explain it. And generally, you know, what kind of person are they? If they're funny with you about not knowing a certain word, then what does it say about them? Anyway, so yes, there are loads of other backup plans you can have, but the two most important are the super small situations where the wrong word kind of slips out, or you don't know a word that somebody's saying, or there was one, it's just in my head what I was going to say. Well, I suppose if you forget, what can I do if I've just temporarily forgotten? You could say, can you help me get back on track? And I think I I personally have a lot of internal feelings of, "Oh, I'm embarrassed and I can feel everybody looking at me and all of these different things." But having that backup plan is, I've decided before this moment that the person I want to be, the person I want to grow into in terms of character, is somebody who these things don't matter. And that's what I want for you. Not for you to feel like nothing matters and nothing is important, but just have some perspective, step back, not in that moment, and decide beforehand, you know, who would I like to be? Who do I admire of the people that I spend time with, or that I see online, and how would they handle a small situation like this? And I'm going to decide in advance that that's what I'm aiming for. These small situations, this is my response, and that's what I'm aiming for. And then you have a backup plan. Bye.